Hi, partners. This week, my researcher and writer, Dennis Daly, brings us back to the time when the new American nation was first feeling its oats and beginning to grow. Dennis reminds us that most people remember who the first 4 American presidents were. Of course. They were George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, and James Madison. But I'm going to agree with Dennis right now. How many people actually remember President number 5? Well, he was James Monroe. Today it may be difficult to imagine a president who was so popular that no one wanted to run against him when it came time for him to run for his second term. But partners, this is the way it was with James Monroe. He was thought of as an honest man, a thoughtful man, and a man who didn't want to rock the boat. Now, partners, the fact that James Monroe didn't want to rock the boat may seem like a good thing, particularly since he was able to stay low-key. But now let's think about another fact. He didn't want to take a stand on some issue may have turned out to be a negative part of his legacy. It all depends on how we look at it. But right for this moment, let's look at the good things James Monroe did and a little about his life. James Monroe was born in Virginia. That state at the time seemed to be home to a lot of presidents and patriots. Monroe was in office during one of our early migrations westward. Thomas Jefferson had opened up the West with the Louisiana Purchase. Now, Monroe watched as a lot of questions came up about just how the nation should expand and at what rate. We thought we were big already, but we're going to grow. And what's happening now? Well, let's just look at it. By the way, a lot of people forgot that when Thomas Jefferson negotiated the Louisiana Purchase from France, you know who was sitting at his side? James Monroe. He was there making sure all the T's were crossed and the I's were dotted. James Monroe is remembered as a president, though, who did occasionally take decisive action when it seemed right. At the start of his administration, Florida still was claimed by Spain, but a lot of American shipping was being attacked by the British pirates off the coast of Florida, because although they said they owned Florida, the Spanish did very little, if anything, to take care of it. That is, to police it. So James Monroe stepped into the vacuum. He ordered American troops under our old friend, the hero of the Battle of New Orleans, Andy Jackson, to go into Florida and claim it for the United States. What? Well, that's what Jackson did. This made it possible that the whole entire East Coast was part of America, and the waters off Florida could be patrolled. Taking Florida is what we today would call a win-win situation. Even though the Civil War was still more than 35 years in the future, James Monroe was faced with several issues relating to slavery. Now, let me see if I can explain this properly. When Missouri joined the Union, the North expected it to be a free state. The South expected it to be a slave state. So Monroe worked out a compromise. Here's how it worked. Missouri joined the Union as a slave state, but Maine came into the Union as a free state. Additionally, slavery was outlawed in the entire Louisiana Territory north of a certain line on the map. This seems confusing, but don't worry, just hang in there. Many say that Monroe's actions, called the Missouri Compromise, kept the nation from civil war until later. Late in his 4 years, James Monroe wrote a simple document that is his best-known legacy today. Speaking to Congress, Monroe stated that the United States would be the protector of liberty in both the North and the South America. He said from that moment, no power in the New World would come over here and set up colonies. This statement by Monroe is still very important. We know it as the Monroe Doctrine. So Jimmy, he doesn't seem to be a bad guy after all. Well, you're right. The only bad parts of Monroe's legacy are the things that he didn't take care of during his 8 years in office. But that did help him stay out of any kind of scandal. Oh, and another thing about James Monroe. He was the third United States president to die on the 4th of July. Yes, on the 55th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, Monroe died. And if you remember, 5 years earlier, on the 50th anniversary, both Thomas Jefferson and John Adams died, nearly at the same hour. So there you are, James Monroe, a president who did a lot to protect and expand the nation's borders. Now, partners, many of you have asked about my writer and researcher, Dennis Daly. Well, we don't. Yeah, we will. Why don't we do this? He's over in Palm Springs right now. Let's turn on his camera for a second and say, hello, Dennis.
Hi, Jimmy. What a surprise. I'm just sitting over here at my desk working on next week's script.
How about that? James Monroe and Dennis Daly all in one report. Okay, you know the drill. Look up there for those 3 boxes. The one farthest to the right has the red X in it. Click that one. Nothing else, and you'll be put right back to the report page. Dinkster, as always, our partners all like your choices of famous people we honor with video explanations. Keep up the good researches for us. Okay, partners, I love you. Go get 'em, Tigers.